Hey everyone, Shark here, and a lot of people ask me how I built my Zhongli, Neuvillette, Nahida, Raiden, and just about every other character I have. So I wanted to make this video as a way to show my character builds for anyone who is interested. I'll show off my artifacts, talent levels, weapons, constellations, and also give a brief explanation of why I built the characters the way I did. Some of my characters have meme builds like Thundering Fury Elemental Mastery Bennett, so I decided not to show off those character builds in favor of more standard builds. It is also worth noting that some of my characters have what I believe to be unrealistic levels of stats, so I'll also make recommendations for great builds that would be much easier for people to achieve. And I want to mention one more thing before we get into the builds that I think is really going to help you out. There's a timestamp for every character in this video, so that way you can skip directly to the characters that you want to see. I don't have every single character, but the list of the characters I do have, at the time of recording at least, is in the description of this video. Don't forget to gently boop that like and sub button, and let's get into the character builds. Alhaitham, level 90, 1800 HP, 1200 attack, 850 defense, and 420 elemental mastery. He needs about 400 elemental mastery, but really not too much more than that. He's got 64 crit rate, 219 crit damage, 137 energy recharge, and 75% dendro damage bonus. The weapon he's using is his signature R1 Light of Foliar Incision, level 90. Artifacts, he's got the 4-piece Gilded Dream set. For this set, it's best for him, but you do need someone with the Deepwood Memories set in your party, and I always run him with someone who's using the Deepwood Memories 4-piece set. That way he can get the Dendro Resistance Shred from that other character, and then he can use the Gilded Dreams for the extra Elemental Mastery and attack percent. For artifacts, we've got a Crit Rates headpiece with some energy recharge, crit damage, and elemental mastery. A Dendro Damage Onset Goblet, crit rate, crit damage, and EM, an Elemental Mastery Sands, and then the Feather and Flower with a lot of crit rate, crit damage, Elemental Mastery, Energy Recharge, and he is Constellation 0. His talents are 9, 10, 9. His skill is the most important for his damage. This is where about 65% of his damage comes from, so you want to level this first. But his normal attacks and his burst also do pretty sizable damage, so they're important to level as well. Aloy! My Aloy is only level 20, she's unbuilt, I just leveled her up to get a wish. What I use Aloy for is to hold artifacts for other characters I want to test to see what their overall stats would be, so I'll switch in and use artifacts for upcoming characters I'm interested in, but I basically keep her unbuilt because she's not very good, and if I wanted to use a cryo character that has a similar kit to hers, I would just use someone like Chongyun instead. She doesn't get any constellations, these are all locked. Her talents are 111, she's only level 20, so she's unbuilt and will probably stay that way for quite a long time. Amber! I don't really use Amber that much, she's only level 50 out of 60, but I have her on a charge attack build. She's got 1100 HP, 1468 attack, 500 defense, 329 elemental mastery, and her overall stats are thus. She's got 59 crit rate, 124 crit damage, 105 energy recharge, and 46% pyro damage bonus. She is using the Ibis Piercer R5. This is an event weapon that we got a little while ago. It has high base attack and it gives attack percent. And for the set, she's using a Wanderer's Troop piece set. This is something that I would use for a charge attack bow character like Tanare or maybe a Melt's Ganyu. But right now it's on Amber, and she's got crit rate headpiece with crit damage, energy recharge, a pyro damage bonus goblet, and elemental mastery sands to make sure any melt she does with her charge attack hit extra hard. And she's got this feather and this flower. She is Constellation 1, and her talent levels are 111. Again, I haven't really leveled her up, but if I ever decide to, she's got some good artifacts and a pretty good weapon. Arlechhino! Arlechhino is level 89 out of 90. She has 18,600 max HP, 2,045 attack, 1,057 defense, and 63 elemental mastery. She has 73.7% crit rate, 210 crit damage, and 122% energy recharge, with 46.6% pyro damage bonus. She's using her signature weapon, R1, level 90, and she has 4-piece Harmonic Whimsy, with a crit damage headpiece, with attack and a lot of crit rate, a pyro damage goblet with energy recharge, crit damage and crit rate, an attack sands with a lot of crit damage and some elemental mastery, a feather with crit rate, crit damage and elemental mastery, and a flower with crit damage, a lot of crit rate, and some energy recharge. She is C0, and her talents are 988. And just a quick note about Arlechhino, her Constellation 1 is actually a lot more valuable than her signature weapon, but I wished on her signature weapon banner and ended up getting her weapon early, and I mean, come on, it's got so much drip, so, you know, I kinda had to. Barbara! I used Barbara as my main healer when I started the game, but then as I got better healers, I kinda just benched her and kept her there. She's level 61 out of 70, 13,000 HP, 590 attack, 600 defense, 16 elemental mastery. She's got 12 crits, 67 crit damage, 44% healing bonus, and 121% energy recharge. If I were going to seriously use Barbara, I would give her much more energy recharge than she has now. But as it stands, she was just sort of an emergency healer for when I was starting the game. She's using the Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers, it's level 50, just so that it has more HP percent, so her heals heal for more. Refinement 5 to get the very big attack boost for whoever was switching after Barbara. Her artifacts are the 4-piece Maiden Beloved set. I just had a random 4-piece set that I slapped on her because I had tons of Maiden's pieces from farming the Viridescent set, and I figured if anyone could use them, it could be Barbara. For her pieces, she's got a healing bonus headpiece, an HP goblet, an HP sands. I'd probably switch this to energy recharge if I really wanted to use her now, and then her feather and flower. She is Constellation 6, and her talents are 197. Her skill and burst are the ones we use the most. I don't use any sort of DPS Barbara or anything like that, so that's why her talents are level 1, because I don't really use her anytime on field. Beidou, level 89 out of 90, 19,000 HP, 1841 attack, 47 elemental mastery. She's got 37.7 crit rate, which I wish was a little bit higher, 155 crit damage, 200% energy recharge, and 70% electro damage bonus. She is using a Skyward Pride that I got from a random weapon banner, R1 level 90. Her artifacts are the 4-piece emblem of the Severed Fate for extra energy recharge and extra damage on her burst based on the amount of ER she has. She's got a crit damage headpiece with crit rate, energy recharge, and EM, and a few defense rolls, unfortunately. An electro damage goblet, an attack percent sands with a lot of energy recharge. Her off-piece is actually the feather with a lot of crit rate, crit damage, and a lot of energy recharge rolls as well. And then her flower. She is Constellation 6. Her Constellation 2 is her most important one. Constellation 6 is nice, but this actually ends up boosting her damage by a massive amount. And her talents are 1, 11, 11. Basically, her burst is the most important, but her skill also hits really hard, so it's worth leveling up. But her normal attacks are not really worth leveling at all. They're very, very slow, and so you don't really want to use Beidou on field because her normal attacks just take so long to come out compared to other characters. So that's Beidou. Bennett, he is level 90 out of 90, over 24,000 HP, under 1600 attack, and he's got these stats: 36 crit, 179 crit damage, 187% energy recharge, no pyro damage bonus, but he has physical damage bonus. It's because of his weapon. He's running the Aquila Favonia with 674 base attack. This is really good for his burst because his burst only calculates off the white numbers right here. Not the total attack percent, just these white numbers, which are based off of the base attack of your weapon and the base attack of the character that they get while they level up. So the higher this white number is, the more attack he gives you with his burst, and it doesn't really matter what his attack is with these green numbers, at least in terms of his burst. He is Constellation 6. His C6 is really not that bad to activate anymore. A lot of people said it was horrible, and in the beginning of the game it was pretty bad, but now it's not really so bad. If you're curious on whether you should use a C6 Bennett or not, if you should activate his final constellation, you can always ask me on stream, and I'll give you whatever guidance I can based on the characters you have, but for most people it's fine to activate his C6. And as far as talents, he is level 1 attack because you don't really need to level it up, level 9 passion overload his skill, and level 13 burst. So his burst is crowned and +3 from the constellations. Artifacts are 4-piece noblesse oblige with the following stats: crit damage headpiece, HP goblet for more HP and more heals, energy recharge sand so he can get into his burst faster, and then the feather and flower with a bunch of crit stats so he can be sort of a damage dealer. Basically for Bennett, all you really care about is enough energy recharge to use his burst off cooldown, enough HP so that he can heal enough for characters that do need the healing, and then a high base attack so he can transfer a lot of attack to whatever character stands inside of his burst during that time. Candace! I love Candace's design. I think it's one of the best in the game. Unfortunately, she's not very good. She has some uses, but not that much. She's only level 69 out of 70. She's got 24,000 HP, about 1,200 attack, 600 defense, and 86 elemental mastery. It's important that she has high HP because she is an HP scaling character. Her overall stats are 62 crit rate, 144 crit damage, 166 energy recharge, and no hydro damage bonus here. Weapon, we're using the Fab Lance. She does appreciate the extra energy, and this gives her a little bit of a support role to give everyone else some energy on the team as well. For artifacts, we're using a 2-piece, a 2-piece Shiminawa, and 2-piece Emblem of the Severed Fate. So we've got an HP goblet with crit rate, crit damage, energy recharge, a crit rate headpiece with energy recharge, crit damage, and elemental mastery, an HP sands, and this is the flower with a lot of HP percent, and the feather with crit rate, crit damage, and HP percent as well. She is Constellation 0, and her talents are 1, 6, and 5. Overall, her scaling's not really that great. She does have a nice little absorption damage for her counter here, and then the basic damage is based off of her max HP on both her skill and burst, which are the most important parts of her kit, while the rest of her kit just scales off of attack. So that's my Candace. Unfortunately, I wish she was a lot better because she looks just so cool, but that's her build. Charlotte, level 89 out of 90, 17,000 HP, about 1,800 attack, 800 defense, 23 elemental mastery. She has 60 crit rate, 56 crit damage, 274% energy recharge, which might be a little more than necessary, and no extra damage bonus here. The reason she has higher crit rate is because we're using her with the Favonius Codex, so that way she can recharge energy for the whole team. She's got a mix of Shiminawa and Emblem. This gives her more attack percent because she's an attack scaling healer, and the Emblem piece just gives her more energy recharge because her main role is to get her burst off in a team with Furina. So her headpiece is a crit rate piece that has attack percent and energy recharge. She has an attack percent goblet with energy recharge and crit rate. She has an energy recharge sands with crit rate and a little bit of attack, and she has the Shiminawa pieces here. Again, just trying to get more energy recharge, attack percent, and that's basically it. She is Constellation 3, and her talents are 1, 2, and 9. I might level her skill up a little bit. I need to farm more Justice books, but really it's all about her burst and making sure it's a high level so that way we can heal everyone basically to full in a really fast manner so Furina can continue draining their HP and get more fanfare stacks. Chevreuse! She's level 89 out of 90, 41,883 max HP, which is a little more than necessary because her bonus caps out at 40,000 HP, 1,068 attack, 742 defense, 65 elemental mastery. Not that I was looking for it, it just kind of rolled that way on the artifacts. She has 53 crit rate, 105 crit damage, and 144.9, aka 145% energy recharge, with no damage bonus there. She is using a Favonius Lance, level 90, R1, and she has 2-piece Golden Troop, 2-piece Tenacity of the Millilith. I was basically just going for artifacts that gave her HP percent because I did not want to farm Song of Days Past. So she's got an HP percent Circlet with crit rate, crit damage, and some EM, as well as some flat HP that does help reach that 40k a little bit easier. An HP percent Goblet with crit rate, energy recharge, and crit damage. An HP Sands with crit damage, a lot of crit rate, and some elemental mastery. And the Feather, which has crit rate, HP percent, and crit damage, with some flat HP as well. And the Flower, which has crit rate, HP percent, and crit damage. She is Constellation 2, and her talents are 1, 9, and 8. Chiori! She is level 90 out of 90, she has 17,450 max HP, 1,374 attack, 2,377 defense, and 58 elemental mastery because that's just how her artifacts rolled. She has 68% crit rate, 147% crit damage, and 113% energy recharge, with 46.6% geo damage bonus. Her weapon is the Cinnabar Spindle. This is an old event weapon that unfortunately you cannot get anymore, but it's really good on Chiori. Her artifacts are the 4-piece Golden Troop set, with a crit rate Circlet that has a lot of crit damage and some elemental mastery, which isn't necessary. A Geo Damage Goblet, which has crit rate, crit damage, and some energy recharge, as well as some flat defense. A Defense Sands with energy recharge, crit damage, some elemental mastery, and attack percent. And here's her Feather with defense percent, crit damage, and some crit rate, as well as some attack percent. And finally, her Flower with defense percent, crit rate, and a lot of crit damage, as well as some attack percent. She is C0, and her talents are 1, 9, and 6. Citlali! She's level 85 out of 90. Her level really isn't that important, but you do want to ascend her at least 80 out of 90 so you can get the extra EM for her final ascension. Her max HP is just under 24,000. She has 969 attack, 919 defense, 756 elemental mastery. She has 19 crit rate, 71 crit damage, 166.1% energy recharge, and no elemental damage bonuses. She is also using a Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers Refinement level 5, and her artifact set is the Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City. We have an Elemental Mastery headpiece with energy recharge, an Elemental Mastery goblet with energy recharge, an Elemental Mastery sands with crit damage, crit rate, and a lot of energy recharge. We have a feather with some Elemental Mastery, a lot of energy recharge, and some crit damage. And we have an off-piece flower with crit rate, elemental mastery, and energy recharge. She is Constellation 0, and her talents are 1, 9, 9. Chongyun! Chongyun is level 50 out of 60. I don't really use him. I thought I may at some point, so I leveled him to 50, but he doesn't even have full artifacts. He's got 13,000 HP, 400 attack and defense, 33 elemental mastery, 26 crit rate, 84 crit damage, 117% energy recharge, and no cryo damage bonus. The weapon he's using is the Sacrificial Greatsword. I remember giving this to him just because I thought it looked really cool with him. It's honestly not the best. You could give him something like the Favonius Greatsword or like the Prototype Archaic, and those would be just fine. For artifacts, I did have a 4-piece Noblesse Oblige set on him, because the 2-piece increasing his burst damage is really nice, and then the extra 20% attack for the party was also pretty helpful, but I took those pieces off and gave them to other various characters, so now he doesn't even have a full artifact set or leveled up artifacts. His headpiece is a random HP piece, not something I would use on him. He has a random attack goblet, not really something I would use on him either. I'd go for cryo damage. He has a defense sands, I don't know why this is on him. He has this feather, which is actually very nice. And then he's got this flower, which is also pretty nice with 14% crit rate. His constellations are Constellation 2, and his talents are 111 because I have not really found a place that I really want to use Chongyun in. I really like his design, but haven't found a party that I really just want to slot him in where I'm not using another cryo character already. So that is my unbuilt Chongyun. Clorinde! Clorinde is level 88 out of 90, her max HP is 18,836, her attack is 1,874, and she has 1,119 defense with 21 elemental mastery. Clorinde has 88.3% crit rate, which is more than necessary because she can overcap thanks to her passive, and she has 193% crit damage with 121.4% energy recharge, and 46.6% electro damage bonus. Her weapon is the R1 Black Sword, level 90. Her artifacts are 2-piece, Marushose Hunter, and Shiminawa's, basically just for the good stats overall. She's got a crit damage headpiece with 5.8% attack and 14.8% crit rate, which is quite a lot. An electro damage bonus with crit rate and crit damage. An attack sands with 20% crit damage, energy recharge, and some elemental mastery, as well as a feather that has crit rate, crit damage, and a lot of attack percent, and a flower that has crit damage, energy recharge, and some crit rate. She is C0, and her talents are 198. Collei! Collei is level 70 out of 80. I have not really fully built her, but she's got some decent pieces. She has 13,000 HP, 1,300 attack, 581 defense, and 249 elemental mastery. She's using the Windbloom Ode R5. This was an event weapon. She has the 4-piece Deepwood Memory set, so that way she can be a Dendro support character with a crit damage headpiece, Dendro damage goblets, energy recharge sands, and the feather and flower. She is Constellation 6, and her talents are 199. She's sort of semi-built. I haven't found too many uses for Collei after getting Nahida and having the Dendro Traveler, but that is my Collei. Dehya! She is level 69 out of 70, 29,000 max HP, 1,100 attack, 579 defense, and 876 elemental mastery. This is a Burgeon Dehya build with a lot of elemental mastery because that way I get to use her and actually make her feel pretty useful in a Burgeon build. Otherwise, unfortunately, her talent scalings are just really bad. She has 21 crit rates, 56 crit damage, 137% energy recharge, no damage bonus there, but as you can see, quite a lot of elemental mastery. She is using the portable power saw just for the extra HP and honestly just because it looks really cool on her. And she's got a 2-piece Wanderer's Troop and 2-piece Gilded Dreams, so that way she can have a lot of elemental mastery main stat headpiece, elemental mastery goblet, elemental mastery sands, and the feather and flower. She is Constellation 0, and her talents are 1, 4, and 1. I could level up her skill a bit more so it does a little bit more damage and has more absorption and protection, but I just did not get around to it while I was using Dehya in my party. So that's my overall Dehya, meant for Burgeon. Otherwise haven't found too many uses for her, even though she looks super cool. Diluc. I got Diluc pretty late into the game when I already had like 5 or 6 5-stars, so I didn't really focus on building him that much, and I didn't really want to spend a lot of time farming on him more than necessary. So here's what he's got. He's level 80 out of 90, about 2,200 attack, 327 EM, which is actually pretty high, 49 crit rate, 168 crit damage, 132 energy recharge, pyro damage, goblet. He is using the Wolf's Gravestone, R1 level 90. His artifacts are the Gilded Dream set. Again, I did not want to farm the Crimson Witch set, which is actually really good for him, so I just decided to give him Gilded Dreams because this has good substats overall. He appreciates EM and attack, so why not? He's got a crit damage headpiece with these stats, pyro damage goblet, EM sands. Honestly, he probably has too much EM. And then the flower, or the feather and the flower. He is Constellation 0, and his talents are 888. Diona, she's level 70 out of 80. She has about 21,000 HP. She's got 1,000 attack, 600 defense, 112 elemental mastery, 34 crit rate, 62 crit damage, and 218% energy recharge. She's also got some cryo damage bonus. This is what she ascends with. It's really weird that they gave her cryo damage instead of like HP or something, but it is what it is, I guess. She's using the Sacrificial Bow, level 80, R3. This is so that she can use another version of her skill. And I'm using the Sacrificial Bow specifically on her because I use Diona in a freeze team. So this is used to help the other characters get more cryo energy, specifically someone like Ganyu. Her artifacts are the 4-piece Noblesse Oblige, basically for the 4-piece bonus to give attack percent to the other characters in the team, because in a freeze team it's hard to get a lot of attack because you don't have a lot of characters that you typically use in a freeze team, like you don't really use Bennett, so getting the extra attack percent is always nice. She's got an HP percent headpiece, so that way she can heal a little bit more. HP percent goblet for increasing heals and shield again. She's got an energy recharge sand, so she can use her burst if necessary. And then she's got this feather and this flower. She is Constellation 4, and her talents are 1, 8, and 10. So there's my Diona, big support build. I like her with Noblesse and using either Favonius Warbow or the Sacrificial depending on your energy recharge needs. Dori! My Dori is unbuilt. She's level 21 out of 40. I leveled her to 20 and ascended just for the wish, and then she got extra levels while I was farming friendship for her. Her overall stats, she's got 5 crit rate, 50 crit damage, no increases there, 113% energy recharge, no extra bonuses or anything. The only reason she has any extra energy recharge is because I'm running her with a Favonius Greatsword. She doesn't even have any artifacts. She is Constellation 3, and her talents are 1, 1, and 4 because of the constellation. I didn't build Dori. I have Kuki for my Hyper Bloom needs, and that's probably the only way I'd use Dori is for something like Hyper Bloom. She heals a lot, but it's single target, on-field character only, so I don't think I'd use her that much, and I already have someone who I think is a far superior character for Hyper Bloom, so Dori, you can just kind of stay where you're at right here. Faruzan. Level 80 out of 90, max HP just under 15,000, attack 1,263, defense 714, 0 elemental mastery. She's got 62 crit rate, 112 crit damage, 246% energy recharge, and 46.6% animo damage bonus. Her weapon is the Favonius Warbow. Level 90, her artifacts are the 4-piece Golden Troop. She's got energy recharge sands, animo damage goblet with crit rate and crit damage, a crit rate headpiece to get more fav procs with some crit damage and energy recharge, and this is the feather and the flower. She is Constellation 6, unlocking her true usefulness at C6, and her talents are 1, 12, 12. Fischl! My Fischl is level 90 out of 90, 15,000 HP, about 1,600 attack, 700 defense, 210 elemental mastery, which helps a lot with the aggravate and electrocharge reactions. She's got 62 crit rate, 134 crit damage, 136 energy recharge, and 46% electro damage. She's using the R1 stringless, level 90, and for artifacts she's got the 4-piece Golden Troop set for extra Oz damage. A crit rate headpiece with high crit damage and some EM, electro damage bonus goblet, attack sands. She's got this feather and this flower. So as you can see, lots of crit rate, crit damage, and energy recharge pieces. She's Constellation 6, and her talents are 5, 12, and 9. The most important talent to level, and honestly the only one you need to level, is her skill, Knight Rider. This is the one that summons Oz and basically where all her damage comes from. If you level up her burst, the only thing it does is increase the damage of the initial hit that she does when she's in bird form. As soon as she switches out and Oz is on the field, it uses the scaling of Knight Rider, not the burst. And you don't need to level her normal talents at all. So this is my Fischl. Furina! She is level 90 out of 90, 39,740 max HP, 1,065 attack, 843 defense, and 0 elemental mastery. She has 58.4% crit rate, 195.3% crit damage, and 179.6% energy recharge, and no hydro damage bonus. The weapon is the R5 Festering Desire, a very old event weapon. For her artifacts, we have a crit damage headpiece with HP percent, crit rate, and energy recharge, an HP goblet with crit rate, crit damage, and energy recharge, an HP percent sands with crit rate, crit damage, and energy recharge, and a feather with crit rate, crit damage, HP percent, and flower with HP percent, crit rate, and crit damage. She is Constellation 0, and her talents are 1, 10, 10. Gumming! Gumming is level 88 out of 90 because level 88 means good luck, and not because I didn't want to use any more experience books on him. He has 16,876 max HP, 1,906 attack, 709 defense, and 226 elemental mastery. He has 38.1% crit rate, 163% crit damage, and 157.8% energy recharge, with 46.6% pyro damage bonus. His weapon is the Ultimate Overlord's Mega Magic Sword, an event weapon that's really nice for him because it has a high base attack, energy recharge, and if you do all the Melscene quests, can give you up to 48% additional attack, which is very, very nice. He's using the 4-piece Marashose Hunter set. He's got a crit damage headpiece with crit rate and 21% attack, a pyro damage goblet with crit rate, energy recharge, and elemental mastery, an elemental mastery sands with crit damage and crit rate, a feather, which is an off piece that has attack percent, energy recharge, and almost 10% crit rate and 20% crit damage. And then for his flower, he's got crit rate, crit damage, and energy recharge. He is Constellation 6, and his talents are 9, 12, 12. Ganyu! Ganyu is level 90, she's got 16,000 HP, 2,100 attack, 600 defense, 91 elemental mastery, 25 crit rate, 289 crit damage, 124% energy recharge, and 61.1 cryo damage bonus. She is using the First Great Magic level 90 R1. She has a 4-piece Blizzard Strayer set with crit damage, cryo damage bonus on the goblet, attack sands, and the feather and flower. Basically, the reason Ganyu has such low crit rate is because the Blizzard Strayer artifact set is enough to give her a ton of extra crit, so I don't really need that much of it. She is Constellation 1, and her talents are 10, 9, and 10. So this is my Ganyu. She hits pretty hard, and I enjoy using her in a freeze team quite a bit. Gorou! Gorou is level 70 out of 80, he's got 12,000 HP, 956 attack, 1,173 defense, he's got almost 50% crit rate, almost 70% crit damage, and 200% energy recharge. He also has 18% geo damage, that's just from leveling up and ascending him. He's using the R1 Favonius Warbow for the extra energy recharge and energy for the team. That's basically how I built him. He just needs a lot of energy recharge, and he also needs a lot of defense because he's a support character that scales off defense. For his artifact set, he is using the 4-piece Exiles. I have the crit rate headpiece so he can be more consistent with the Favonius procs. He has a defense goblet with energy recharge, crit rate, and crit damage, a defense sands with crit rate and a little bit of crit damage there as well, and then he's got the feather and flower. So he's using this set not only for his own personal energy recharge, but for the 4-piece set, which regenerates energy for your entire team when he uses his elemental burst. So that's pretty useful. He's Constellation 3, and his talents are 1, 11, and 2. Basically, his skill is the most important for his usefulness, so that's why I leveled this up and didn't really focus on anything else. So that's my Gorou. I meant him to pair with Noelle, and since Noelle doesn't generate any energy on her own, he needs to really pick up the load and generate a lot for her. Unfortunately, he's also pretty energy hungry, so it can be a little tough sometimes. Heizou! Heizou is level 85 out of 90, 15,000 HP, 1500 attack, 800 defense, and 84 elemental mastery. I switched him off a build that I was using to give his artifacts to Jean, so now he's more on a crit rate attack, crit damage build. I like him more with EM, but let's look at his overall stats. He's got 76 crit rate, 180 crit damage, 122% energy recharge, and 85% animo damage bonus. He is using the Solar Pearl R1, and his artifacts, he's got the 2-piece Viridescent, 2-piece Shiminawa. So he's using a crit damage headpiece with a lot of crit rates, an animo damage bonus goblet, an attack percent sands, and this feather, and this flower. Overall, Heizou is more fun as an EM swirl carry in my opinion, but this is still a pretty good set for him and he's got lots of good stats from the artifacts. He is C6 and his talents are 8, 12, and 12. Most of his damage is coming from his Heartstopper Strike, his skill, but the other talents do some amount of damage, so they are worth leveling also. Jean! Jean is level 80 out of 90, and I recently switched her artifacts so that she has more EM and a 4-piece Viridescent set instead of a 2-piece attack, 2-piece Animo set, which I then switched over with Heizou. So I swapped their artifacts so that way Jean can have a Viridescent 4-piece set and swirl some Hydro in a potential team with Furina. So she has almost 24,000 HP, about 1,000 attack, 880 defense, 560 elemental mastery. She's got 42 crit rate, 76 crit damage, and 184% energy recharge, and 15% animo damage bonus. She is using an level 80 Favonius sword. This way she can get more energy recharge to use her burst and give energy to the team. I should get this to level 90. Once I get a chance to farm more weapon ascension materials, I'll probably do that. The 4-piece she has is a Viridescent set with an EM headpiece, EM goblet, EM sands, and a feather with a lot of energy recharge, and a flower with some crit rate and crit damage. She is Constellation 2, and her talents are 1, 8, and 8. Her skill actually does a pretty good amount of damage, so when I was building her with attack percent, this was actually hitting for 30k or more, which is pretty nice. And then her burst is basically a full heal, so you want to level this up so you can full heal your party. So that's my EM Jean, used for things like either Sunfire with Bennett or for Furina and swirling Hydro for her. Kachina! She is level 21 out of 40. I literally just leveled her up in order to get the free wish. I don't really use her and didn't really plan on using her very much. I did get the Scroll of Cinder City for her initially, but because she is a Geo character that scales off defense and Xilonen is very similar, I figured the artifacts that I was using on Kachina just for the Cinder City buff I could just throw on Xilonen, which is exactly what I did. So I don't really use Kachina anymore and she's just kind of here hanging around. Kaeya! He is level 85 out of 90, 17,000 HP, 1,600 attack, 1,000 defense, 80 elemental mastery, 74 crit rate, 192 crit damage, 155, almost 156% energy recharge, and cryo damage bonus goblets. He's using the black sword, and if I remember right, his artifacts are just 2-piece, not even any cryo damage bonus here. We've got Shiminawa and Flower of Paradise Lost. I basically used whatever artifacts that had really good stats and gave them to Kaeya. This is a little bit of like a reverse melt. It could work in like a Blizzard Strayer team as well, but honestly, he's got a lot of crit rate, so he doesn't need the Blizzard Strayer passive that much. So he's just kind of 2-piece mix and match. We've got a crit damage headpiece here with a lot of crit rate. We've got the cryo damage bonus goblet there, an attack sands, and the feather and flower. He also doesn't need nearly as much energy recharge because he's also C6, so this helps out with his energy quite a bit. For talents, he is 6 in normal attacks, 12 in skill, and 12 in burst. His skill and burst are most important, but if you're using him on field, which you may do early in the game because his normal attacks are actually pretty good, then it's worth leveling these. If you don't have any other proper on-field damage dealer, Kaeya is a great character to use, and his skill and burst are also pretty decent, so it's worth leveling these up, and then maybe his normal attacks if you plan to use him on field. Kazuha, level 90 out of 90, important because he does a lot of swirl for transformative reactions, and being level 90 is actually really nice. He's got 20,000 HP, 1100 attack, 1100 defense, and 815 elemental mastery. He has 30% crit rate, 97% crit damage, and 172% energy recharge. He also has 15% anemo damage bonus. He is using the Favonius Sword R5. This is really important for him. A lot of people run the Iron Sting, but Kazuha needs a lot of elemental mastery because his burst is actually the biggest source of damage that he has. So you want to make sure that you can use that as frequently as possible. Make sure you're using it off cooldown. And that's why I gave him the Favonius Sword. It helps with his personal energy needs, as well as the energy needs of whatever team he's in. As far as artifacts, he is of course running the 4-piece Viridescent set with Elemental Mastery main stat headpiece, Elemental Mastery goblet, Elemental Mastery sands, and a feather with 61 Elemental Mastery, and a flower with 79 Elemental Mastery. He is Constellation 0, and his talents are 999. It's actually important to level up his normal attack because when he slams down, so his skill pops him up and pulls enemies in, when he does the slam down, it actually uses the normal attack scaling of his plunge damage, so it's actually important to level this up. But in terms of talent priority, you probably want to do burst, skill, normal attack in that order. All of them are important, and they're all level 9. Maybe one day I'll crown him, but honestly, he's really strong as is, and probably doesn't need the crown. So there's my Kazuha overall. Nice blend of very high EM, as well as energy recharge, and Fav to give more energy to himself and the team. Keqing! My Keqing is level 80 out of 90. She has 18,000 HP, 1500 attack, 900 defense, and 509 elemental mastery. I built her this way because I wanted to see what she would do in an aggravate team if she had really high elemental mastery. Her overall other stats, she's got 61 crit rate, 190 crit damage, and 112 energy recharge, with, surprisingly, no electro damage bonus. She's using the Tukabu Shigure, Refinement 5, level 90. This was an event weapon. It's a funny looking weird yokai umbrella. Gives her a lot of EM, but also damage percent on especially single target enemies. She has the 4-piece Gilded Dream set, which increases her elemental mastery and attack percent. This is pretty good for any sort of aggravate character. I thought this would be pretty fun, and since I farmed Deepwood and Gilded for such a long time, I just gave pretty good pieces to her, and it does have pretty good results, even though it may not be the best artifact set for her. So we've got a crit rate, crit damage piece with a little bit of attack. We have an attack percent goblet here. We have an EM sands. We have this feather and this flower. I don't really use Keqing very often. This could be optimized way more with like an electro damage goblet, Thundering Fury, or like some other good artifact set. But since I don't use her that much, I just gave her good pieces that I'd already farmed, and she does plenty of work. She is C0, and her talents are 8, 6, and 8. So that's my Keqing. Kinich! Kinich is level 88 out of 90. He has 19,086 max HP, 2,532 attack, 921 defense, and 91 elemental mastery. He has 50% crit rate, 50.9, so basically 51% crit rate, 205 crit damage, 117.5% energy recharge, and 46.6% dendro damage bonus. He's using a Wolf's Gravestone, level 90 R1. His artifacts are the 4-piece Obsidian Codex, with a crit damage headpiece with some crit rate and EM, which isn't necessary for him at all, but the crit rate and is very helpful on the crit damage headpiece. A dendro damage goblet with some energy recharge, crit rate, and some EM. An attack sands with a lot of crit damage. And this feather with a lot of crit damage, crit rate, and attack overall. And then this flower with a lot of crit rate, crit damage, and some elemental mastery. He's Constellation 0, and his talents are 1, 9, 8. Kirara! My Kirara is level 80 out of 90. She has 38,000 HP, 600 attack, 600 defense, 82 elemental mastery. She has 22 crit rate, 85 crit damage, and 167% energy recharge. She is using a Favonius Sword level 1. This is basically so she can recharge energy for the team. I don't have the Sasageo sword that gives her extra HP percent, but this is still a very, very good weapon for her because it gives not only particles to her, which she doesn't really need, but it does give energy particles to other characters on the team, which could be very, very helpful. For artifacts, she's running a 4-piece Noblesse Oblige set. Just for the extra attack percent, I could have given her Deepwood, but I feel like these artifacts probably just had better HP overall, which is why I gave them to her. Yeah, she's got an HP headpiece here. She's got an HP goblet there, an HP sands, and this with almost 20% HP on the feather, and some HP and crit rate and crit damage there. If I really wanted to build her a little bit more, I could probably drop this and give her a crit rate piece, but I don't think I have an extra one to give her. She is Constellation 0, and her talents are 1, 8, and 6. This does, her burst does a decent amount of damage, it's alright, but really the main reason you're using Kirara is for her skill and her little catbox shield. So there's my Kirara. Pretty nice overall. Don't really use her that much anymore, but she's really, really fun for exploration. Klee, my very first 5-star. She is level 89 out of 90, 16,000 HP, 1800 attack, 700 defense, and 96 elemental mastery. She has 73 crit rate, 173 crit damage, 132% energy recharge, and 90% pyro damage bonus. She is using the R1 Lost Prayer of the Sacred Winds. She has a mix of Wanderer's Troop and Crimson Witch of Flames. She's got a crit damage headpiece, a pyro damage goblet, and attack sands, this feather, and this flower. She is Constellation 0. And her talents are 10, 9, 9. Being that she was my first 5-star, I crowned her normal attack because her charge attack is pretty much where all of her damage comes from, but her Jumpy Dumpty and Sparks and Splash skill and burst are both pretty potent, so they're worth leveling as well. That's my Klee, my very first 5-star. Kujou Sara. She is level 50 out of 60. I intend on building her one day because I recently got her C6. She's got 1400 attack, 500 defense, and 93 elemental mastery, with 48.9 crit rate, 137% crit damage, and 183% energy recharge, with 46% electro damage bonus. She is using the Fading Twilight. It looks very cool on her, and it has a high base attack, which she appreciates, and overall the energy recharge is also nice. This was an event weapon. Unfortunately, you can no longer get it anymore, but it is pretty good for her. For artifacts, we've got 4-piece Emblem of the Severed Fate, with a crit damage headpiece, an electro damage goblet, an attack sands, this feather, and this flower. She is Constellation 6, so she would be great in something like a Ride and Hyper Carry team, and her talents are 1, 4, and 4. I have not leveled them up. When I decide to level her up, I will definitely be leveling up her burst and her skill, as those are the most important talents she has. So there's my Kujou Sara. Kuki Shinobu. She is level 90, 25,000 HP, 1400 attack, 900 defense, 929 elemental mastery. This is a Hyperbloom Kuki build with a lot of elemental mastery. Her overall stats: 24 crit rate, 50 crit damage, 22% energy recharge, and nothing else here. Honestly, none of these stats matter. The only things that really matter are her elemental mastery and her max HP. For weapons, she is using the Freedom Sworn. I actually have this, and I got it while wishing for Alhaitham's weapon, but I decided not to give it to Kazuha and to give it to Kuki instead, because Kazuha wants the Fav for lots of energy recharge. Since I didn't get the energy recharge from the substats on his artifacts, I decided to give the Freedom Sworn to Kuki instead. Her artifacts are a 4-piece Flower of Paradise Lost set for the extra EM and Hyperbloom damage. She has an EM main set headpiece with substats that don't matter, EM goblet with HP percent and crit rate. HP percent just helps her heal a little bit more. She's got an Elemental Mastery Sands with substats that don't matter, and she's got this feather with 54 EM, and this flower with only 37% EM, but it also gives HP percent, so it's not too bad. She is Constellation 2, and her talents are 1, 9, and 1. I could level up the burst if I really wanted to for a little bit of extra damage, but honestly it's just the electro application that matters, so I don't really need to level this up. And I leveled up her Sanctifying Ring, her skill, so that way she heals for more, so she can keep the on-field damage dealer nice and topped up and healthy. Lan Yan! She's level 80 out of 90, her max HP is just under 17,000, her attack is 2,158, she has 591 defense and 110 elemental mastery. She has 29, basically 30% crit rate, 108% crit damage, 151% energy recharge, and 15% anemo damage bonus from her artifact set. She's using an R5, Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers, level 90 just for the higher base attack, and she's using a 4-piece Viridescent Venerer set. We have an attack percent headpiece with a lot of crit damage and, more importantly, ER crit rate. And then we've got this attack goblet, which is pretty nice overall. Energy recharge, elemental mastery, crit damage, and a high crit rate at 14. We've got this attack percent sands with some crit rates, energy recharge, and some elemental mastery. This feather with energy recharge and a lot of attack percent, 21% on the feather. And then we've got this flower with crit damage, a little bit of attack percent, and some more energy recharge. Basically just the VV set with lots of attack percent so that her shield can be a lot stronger. She is Constellation 1. Constellation 2 refreshes the health of her shield, and it's a really good constellation, but for my purposes, C1 is just fine. Her talents are 166. I am waiting for the weekly boss in order to ascend this, and once I can do the weekly boss, I'll have this at level 9, and probably get her burst to around level 8, though I'm just using it pretty much every other rotation, and it's not that important for me, so I might just keep it at level 6 for a while. Layla! My Layla is level 90 out of 90, 32,000 HP, 1100 attack, 800 defense, 70 elemental mastery. I really like Layla's design. I took her to 90 so she could be a shielder. I had her replace Diona in my freeze team because I think she just looks so much better than Diona, and she was really good for a while, though I might switch her out with someone like Charlotte and run Furina in that freeze team. Anyways, Layla has 29 crit rates, 77 crit damage, 248% energy recharge, and no extra damage bonuses. She is using a Favonius sword, and it's only level 70, so I could level it up for even more energy recharge, but I honestly don't really need to. She has a 4-piece Tenacity of the Millilith set with an HP percent headpiece, an HP percent goblet, energy recharge sands, and this feather, and that flower. If I wanted to optimize her a little bit more, I could give her a crit rate headpiece and look for some HP. That way she could proc the Favonius a little bit easier, but she does fine as is. She is Constellation 5, almost Constellation 6, and her talents are 1, 11, and 9. I leveled this up just for fun. You don't really need to level her burst up. For Layla, it's really all about her shield, so if you are going to level her up, make sure you focus on that. Lisa! Lisa is level 89 out of 90. She has almost 15,000 HP, 1600 attack, 600 defense, 649 elemental mastery, 26 crit rate, 74 crit damage, and 148% energy recharge. She also has 46% electro damage, and she's supposed to be a mix of a Hyper Bloom carry, as long as a character that also just deals a bunch of extra electro damage. She has the Oathsworn Eye, which gives her a high base attack, some attack percent, and a lot of energy recharge because she really needs it. She is also running a 4-piece emblem set, so she's got an Elemental Mastery headpiece, an Electro Damage bonus goblet, Elemental Mastery sands, and this feather. and this flower. So she is designed to be an off-field damage character where she basically just uses her burst and switch out. So I appreciate using the Emblem of Severed Fate on her, but I also want her to have very high EM because I figure her best spot would be in a place like Hyperbloom, so this way she can do a bit of both. She is Constellation 5, nearing Constellation 6, and her talents are 1, 9, and 10. Lynette! My Lynette is unbuilt. She's only level 41 out of 50. She has 9,000 HP, 1200 attack, 400 defense, and 491 elemental mastery. When I was thinking about building her, I figured 4-piece VV would probably be the best way to go, so I focused on getting high elemental mastery, though I don't know if she has 4-piece VV now. I think I switched artifacts off of her for other characters. So, she's got 29.9 crit rate, 91% crit damage, 126% energy recharge, and 76% animo damage bonus. She's got the Iron Sting R1, level 90, and she's got a 2-piece Viridescent, but it looks like that's it. So you've got an EM headpiece here, an animo damage goblet, and elemental mastery sands 4-star, as well as a Shiminawa piece here, and a Viridescent here. I think I probably had her as a 2-piece Viridescent, 2-piece Shiminawa at a certain point, and then probably switch some things around for other characters. She is Constellation 0, and her talents are 111. I did not really level her up, having a lot of good animo characters already. I didn't know if I could find a use for her, and being low constellations, I didn't really know where I could place her. Maybe if she was C6, she could be a pretty fun animo driver, but seeing how she is only C0, I decided to just leave her at level 41. Mawika! Level 89 out of 90, 17,244 max HP, 1,795 attack, 905 defense, 259 elemental mastery. She has 50.2% crit rate, 240.8% crit damage, no energy recharge, and 46.6% pyro damage bonus. She's using her signature weapon R1, level 90. She has the 4-piece Obsidian Codex, with the crit damage headpiece, with some EM, crit rate, and attack percent, a pyro damage goblet with crit rate, crit damage, and elemental mastery, an elemental mastery sands with attack percent, crit rate, and crit damage, and this is her feather with crit rate, crit damage, elemental mastery, and attack percent, and her flower with some flat stats as well as crit rate and crit damage. She's Constellation 0, and her talents are 1, 9, and 10. Mika, our favorite Choco Boy. He's got almost 25,000 HP, 1,400 attack, and almost 900 defense. For some reason, he also has 133 elemental mastery. He's got 55 crit rate and 220 energy recharge. Basically, he's just built so that he can use his burst. His weapon is the Favonius Lance R1. He is Constellation 0. And his artifacts are the 4-piece Noblesse Oblige set. This is so after he uses his burst, everyone on the team gets a 20% attack boost. So he's got just kind of whatever artifacts. They're honestly not that good, like very, very high flat attack rolls there, not what you want to see. And then he's got some energy recharge and 54 EM there with a little bit of crit rate. Energy recharge sands with, again, ton of elemental mastery not needed, but it has some crit rate, so it makes the Favonius passive a little bit easier to proc. He's got an HP goblet for more healing with a lot of attack percent that he doesn't need, but it has a little bit of energy recharge. And then he's got a crit rate headpiece to again make it easier to proc the Favonius passive. Luckily this one has 20% energy recharge, so that's really, really nice for Mika. As far as Mika's talents go, I have 1, 9, and 8. The 9 is so that you increase the attack speed, so at level 9 it's 21%. At level 8 he has quite a lot of healing. I could push this to 9 if I wanted even more healing, but his normal attacks are not really worth leveling. You're using Mika for the attack speed increase and for his heal. Mona, level 90 out of 90, 16,000 HP, 1,500 attack, 800 defense, 40 elemental mastery. She has 48 crit rate, 100 crit damage, 288% energy recharge, and 46% hydro damage bonus. She's using an R5 Favonius Codex. This way she can regenerate more energy for the team that she's on, because she's typically in a freeze team, and they can be pretty energy hungry. The energy recharge also gives her more hydro damage bonus and helps with the emblem set that she's on. Because she is running a 4-piece emblem set, I want to maximize the amount of energy recharge she has, not only for her talent that gives her more hydro damage bonus, but also for the increased bonus damage of the emblem set itself. So she's using a crit rate headpiece, a hydro damage bonus goblet, an energy recharge sands, and this feather, and this flower. She is Constellation 1, and her talents are 6, 7, and 9. So her most important one is her burst. That's the one you probably want to level up most. The other talents you don't really need to level up. You could level up her skill if you wanted to, but her burst is the most important. So there's my Mona. Mualani, the Shark Girl. She's level 89 out of 90. She has 41,483 HP, 1,105 attack, 644 defense, 200 elemental mastery, and 56.9% crit rate, 261% crit damage, 100% energy recharge, so nothing extra there, and no hydro damage bonus. She's using her signature weapon, R1, level 90. For artifacts, using the 4-piece Obsidian Codex, with a crit damage headpiece, with a lot of crit rate and some EM. She's using an HP Goblet. This HP Goblet is really good. If I had a really good hydro damage goblet, I'd probably switch to this. But this HP percent goblet has 7% crit rate, 21.8% crit damage, and 40 EM, with no flat defense rolls, which is really, really good. Very hard to match. She's using an HP Sands with crit rate, crit damage, and 89 elemental mastery, which is very, very high. Then we've got the Feather, which is crit rate, crit damage, and 16% HP. And the Flower, which is crit damage, elemental mastery, and HP percent. She is C1, and her talents are 1, 10, and 9. Nahida, my little Dendro baby, level 90 out of 90, and probably the holder of the best artifacts on my account. She has 15,000 HP, almost 1,300 attack, 600 defense, and 805 elemental mastery. Her overall stats are 37 crit rate, 142 crit damage, 132 energy recharge, and 61% Dendro damage bonus. She has the Wandering Evenstar, level 90 R1, and the artifacts are of course the 4-piece Deepwood set, the best set for her. Her headpiece is an Elemental Mastery headpiece with energy recharge, attack percent, crit rate, and crit damage. She is an onset Dendro damage bonus goblet with crit rate, crit damage, and Elemental Mastery. She has an Elemental Mastery Sands with 10% crit rate, 30% crit damage. She has this Feather with crit rate, crit damage, 63 EM, and 10% energy recharge. And she has this Flower with 14% attack, 3% crit rate, 21 crit damage, and 42 elemental mastery. She is Constellation 0, and her talents are 9, 10, 9. I use her as a driver in a Hyper Bloom team a lot, so I leveled her normal attacks, but you don't really need to level them if you're just going to use her skill and burst. Navia! Navia is level 90 out of 90, 17,639 max HP, 2,413 attack, 1,094 defense, and 35% elemental mastery. She has 85.4% crit rate, 198 crit damage, and 104.5% energy recharge, with 46.6% geo damage bonus. She is using her signature weapon R1, level 90, and she has a 2-piece Golden Troop, 2-piece Shiminawa just for the extra stats, because farming a 4-piece for her is a giant pain. She has a crit rate circlet with 21% crit damage and 10.5% attack. Geo damage bonus with 20% crit damage, attack, and crit rate there. An attack sands with crit damage of 28.8%, 7% crit rate, and energy recharge. And a Feather with crit rate, crit damage, and some EM, and a Flower with crit rate and crit damage. She is Constellation 0, and she is 10, 10, 9 for normal attacks, skill, and burst. Neuvillette, he's level 90 out of 90, he has 37,835 max HP, 1,134 attack, 769 defense, and 44 elemental mastery just from some random artifact substats. He has 40.8% crit rate, 317.3% crit damage, 122.7% energy recharge, and no hydro damage bonus. He's using a level 90 Tome of Eternal Flow, his signature weapon, at R1. His artifacts are the 4-piece Marushose Hunter. He's got a crit damage headpiece with crit rate and energy recharge, an HP percent goblet with crit damage and crit rate, an HP percent sands with crit rate and crit damage, as well as some EM, which he doesn't need, the feather with crit rate, crit damage, and HP percent, and the flower with crit rate, HP percent, energy recharge, and crit damage. He is C1, and his talents are 10, 9, 9. Ningguang, level 80 out of 90, fully ascended. She's got almost 16,000 HP, 1,600 attack, and 500 defense. She has 60 crit rate, 175 crit damage, and 131 energy recharge with 70% geo damage. She is using the Solar Pearl R1, and her artifacts are a mix of Shiminawa and Noblesse. She's built as a burst support, meaning that she is just coming in, switching, doing her burst, and then switching out. She is Constellation 6, so her playstyle is basically use her skill, set up the Jade screen, use her burst, then use the 7-star Jade she gets, do a special charge attack, then use her skill again. And that's basically what she does. Don't really use her that much anymore, but let's take a look at her artifacts. We've got crit damage here, geo damage here, attack percent sands there, attack feather, and flat attack flower. So overall, pretty good stats overall. Unfortunately, geo's not very good anymore, but that's Ningguang. Let's take a look at her talents. We've got level 9 normal attack, level 11 skill, and level 12 burst. All of these talents are useful. The normal attack and burst are the most important. The skill's not quite as important, but each one of these contributes to Ningguang's damage, so they're worth leveling. Noelle! My Noelle is level 90 out of 90, 19,000 HP, 1,200 attack, almost 1,800 defense, 19 EM. She has 76 crit rate, 184 crit damage, and 128 energy recharge. I wish this was a lot higher because she's very energy hungry, and she has 46% geo damage bonus. She has a Serpent Spine level 90, and she is using the 4-piece Gladiator Finale set. I know I could farm Husk of Opulent Dreams, but I had 4-piece Gladiators with some pretty good stats, and I didn't want to farm that domain because it's pretty resin inefficient to farm. She has a crit damage headpiece with a lot of defense, crit rate, and energy recharge, all the things she likes, a geo damage bonus goblet with crit rate, crit damage, and defense percent, a defense sands with crit rate and crit damage, and then this feather, and this flower. She is Constellation 6, and her talents are 9, 11, and 13. Her burst is crowned. I do like using Noelle a lot. Unfortunately, the energy issues kind of make it difficult to use her, and her damage is pretty good, but even at C6 with some really good artifacts, it's still a little bit lackluster. But there's my Favonius maid, Noelle. Auroran! He's level 90 out of 90, 14.5k HP, 1,678 attack, 841 defense, and 72 elemental mastery. He has 62.9, basically 63% crit rate, 131 crit damage, 177 energy recharge, and 46.6% electro damage bonus. He's using an R1 level 90 Favonius Warbow. His artifacts are the Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City, with an off-piece circlet with crit rate, high crit damage, and some attack percent, an electro damage goblet with high crit damage and some attack percent, an attack sands with crit rate, energy recharge, and a lot of EM, this feather with attack percent, a lot of crit rate and some crit damage, and this flower with some crit rate, energy recharge, and a good amount of crit damage. He is Constellation 0, and his talents are 1, 6, 8, Honestly, I forgot about Auroran's talents, and I should probably level them up more, but I forgot about the philosophies of kindling that he needs, and I probably used a lot of these for Citlali anyways. So I would get these to 189, but for right now he's just 168. Chi-Chi! My Chi-Chi is level 60 out of 70, 12,000 HP, 1600 attack, 600 defense, and 16 elemental mastery. She has 19 crit rate, 77% crit damage, and 162% energy recharge. She's very, very energy hungry. Like Noelle, she does not generate her own energy particles, so she needs help from the entire team for that. No cryo damage bonus or anything here. I focus on mostly attack percent if I remember correctly. She's using the Karustrube Ishin, which is a quest event weapon that you can get. It's from the Kazuha story quest, so you can still get this if you like. It's level 90, and it's got a bunch of attack percent, which is nice for Chi-Chi since she is an attack scaling healer. She has a 4-piece Maiden set. I have a bunch of Maiden pieces from farming Viridescent, so that's why she's using the Maiden's Beloved set. She's got an attack percent headpiece, attack goblet, energy recharge sands, and this feather, and this flower. As you can see, a lot of these artifacts are not leveled up. I don't really use Chi-Chi very often, so I didn't really invest a whole lot of time or resources into her. She is C1, which helps a little bit with her energy gain, but not that much. And her talents are 1, 6, and 6. So there's my Chi-Chi. Hopefully the Zomber will have a better use in the future. Right now though, she's got a lot of issues that I hope Hoyo fixes, but honestly, it's been so long they're probably not going to do much with her. Raiden Shogun. My Raiden is level 90 out of 90. She has almost 18,000 HP, almost 2,300 attack, and almost 800 defense, with 105 elemental mastery. It's between her or Nahida as to who has the best artifacts on my account, but Raiden's are really, really good. If we look at her other stats, she's got 55 crit rate, 172 crit damage, 261% energy recharge, and it will not show because she's not in the party, but she gets bonus electro damage percent based on how much energy recharge she has. So for this reason, I actually end up running an attack sands on her because she gets so much electro damage for having high energy recharge. Her weapon is the R1 Skyward Spine, and she is using the 4-piece emblem set. She has a crit damage headpiece with crit rate, a lot of attack percent, and some EM. An attack percent goblet because she doesn't need the electro damage goblet, and honestly this attack percent goblet just has really good substats. An energy recharge sands, which has amazing substats. This feather, which has very high crit rate at 14.4%, and then all these other substats are also useful on her. And then she's got this flower, which again, everything here really useful for her. She is Constellation 0, and her talents are 1, 9, and 10. Her normal attacks really don't contribute to any bit of her damage, it's all her skill and burst. And if you're building EM Raiden, you don't even need to build or level up her burst, you can just level up her skill. I probably will not use EM Raiden, I farmed way too long to get those emblem pieces, so she is going to stay Emblem Raiden for the foreseeable future. Razor! I used to use Razor quite a bit. He is level 80 out of 90, but when he sort of fell off and I got better teams and physical really was being pretty difficult to work with, especially fighting Ruin Guards and things like that, I decided to switch things around, and I haven't played Razor in a long time. And his stats probably reflect that. He's got 21 crit rate, 178 crit damage, 154 energy recharge, and he's got 88.3% physical damage. The weapon he's using is the Favonius Greatsword right now. However, I did used to run him on the Wolf's Gravestone that Diluc had before I got Diluc, and that gave him a huge attack buff. He was running the 4-piece Gladiator's Finale set. This looks about like what I was running him in before. So it's got crit rate, crit damage with attack percent, a physical damage goblet here. Then you've got an attack sands, which rolled a lot into defense. And then this feather. And this flower. So that's about what I was using with my OG Razor. He is Constellation 3, one away from Constellation 4, which is his really good one. His talents are 10, 7, 12. So as you can see, I actually crowned Razor because he was one of the characters that I used so often that I figured it was actually worth using a crown on him. Now I don't really use him at all anymore, unfortunately. Rosaria! My Rosaria is level 80 out of 90, 17,000 HP, almost 1800 attack, 800 defense, and 145 elemental mastery. She's got 63 crit rate, 92 crit damage, and 163 energy recharge, with 61% cryo damage. She is using the Favonius Lance so she can get some energy for the team and also have a little bit of energy recharge herself. Also, the high base attack is pretty nice. She is using a 4-piece Blizzard Strayer set with a crit rate headpiece, a cryo damage goblet, an attack percent sands, and this feather, and this flower. She is Constellation 3, and her talents are 1, 11, and 8. She gets +3 from her constellation, so she's basically 1, 8 plus 3, and 8. Her skill and burst are the most important things for her. Those are what are dealing most damage. She's not really used on field. She's kind of like a quick swap character like Kaeya. Use her skill burst and then switch to another character so they can continue using their skills and their bursts. So there's my Rosaria. Sayu! My Sayu is 50 out of 60, not really very built. She has 8,000 HP, 900 attack, 400 defense, and 172 elemental mastery. She's got 19 crit rate, 63 crit damage, and 177% energy recharge, with 15% animo damage bonus. She is using the Favonius Greatsword for more energy recharge. It's R4, so Sayu's kind of energy hungry, so she appreciates the energy recharge being a mostly off-field character, but this also helps with the team energy generation as well. She's using a 4-piece Viridescent set that I have not leveled up because I haven't leveled up Sayu. Maybe one day. It's an attack percent headpiece, an attack percent goblet, an EM sands, an attack feather with a lot of attack percent and some energy recharge crit, and then this flower with some crit and elemental mastery. Since Sayu's an attack scaling healer, I just sort of focused a bit on attack. She is Constellation 1. If she was Constellation 6, I'd focus more on EM, but as it stands, I'd probably just focus right now on attack, healing bonus, and energy recharge so she could be useful as a healer and maybe pseudo swirl character. Her talents are 1, 1, 2. Again, haven't really invested much into Sayu, but there she is. Shenhe. She is level 89 out of 90, 1900 HP, 2800 attack. I actually got her while wishing for Mika, funnily enough. She came home before he did. Overall, her stats are 30% crit rate, 75 crit damage, 192 energy recharge, and no other cryo bonus or anything here. She is using the Favonius Lance, which has a high base attack and some energy recharge. Both of these are really nice for her. She wants a high base attack because all of her bonus damage is based off of her total attack, so having a higher base attack weapon is really nice. Her artifacts are the 4-piece Noblesse Oblige, and she's just running attack percent everywhere and as much energy recharge as I can give her as well. So the headpiece, attack percent, lots of energy recharge. Attack percent, lots of energy recharge. Attack percent, lots of energy recharge. And the feather and flower have attack percent, unfortunately no energy recharge there. And also attack percent and no energy recharge. That way, if we look at her constellations, Constellation 0, but her talents, it's 199. The reason we have these leveled up is so she gets more damage with her Icy Quill bonus, and then for her burst, she shreds cryo and physical resistance, and as we level this up, the resistance that she reduces is increased, so she shreds more resistance as this is leveled up. She gives more bonus damage with her Icy Quills, which is why we leveled those two. So that's Shenhe. Sucrose. My Sucrose is level 90 out of 90, 17,000 HP, 1200 attack, 900 defense, 866 elemental mastery, which is the important stat. She's got 8.9 crit rate, 60 crit damage, 125% energy recharge, and animo damage bonus. Really the most important stats for her are her elemental mastery and her energy recharge. She's using the sacrificial fragments, level 90 R1. For the extra elemental mastery and the extra use of a skill. Because she is C6, that means her C1 gets her an additional charge, and with her C1 and the sacrificial fragments, she's able to use potentially 3 skills in a row, which is really, really nice. She's using a 4-piece Viridescent set with as much elemental mastery as I can give her, so elemental mastery main stat, bad substats, but that's okay. Elemental Mastery Goblet, better substats, Elemental Mastery Sands, and this feather with some EM, crit damage, and attack percent, and this flower with some EM, attack percent, and energy recharge as well. She is, again, Constellation 6. Really, Constellation 1's like the most important one for her. Constellation 6 is also pretty nice, but really the C1 is the most helpful. Her talents are 1, 6, or 1, 4, and 4 plus 3. You honestly don't even need to level up these talents. It only increases the skill damage or the talent damage percent. But if you don't level them up, it doesn't affect the amount of damage she does on her swirls, so you actually don't even need to level these if you don't want to. Tartaglia, level 87 out of 90, 17,000 HP, almost 1900 attack, 1000 defense, and 75 elemental mastery. His overall bonuses are 88 crit rate, 102 crit damage, 122 energy recharge. Honestly, I should probably redo these a little bit so he gets more crit damage. He's got 90% hydro damage bonus. If we take a look at his weapon, he is rocking the Viridescent Hunt R1. His artifacts are the 4-piece Heart of Depth, with a crit rate headpiece with a lot of attack percent and some crit damage, hydro damage goblet, an attack sands, feather, and flower. He is Constellation 0, and his talents are 7, 9, 7. Honestly, you don't really need to level up this talent. This is more for like the charge attack version of him, and it's only level 7 because of his Master of Weaponry that levels everyone's normal attack talents by 1. The main thing you want to level is the skill and the burst. These two are the most important. I got Child kind of early on, didn't really know what I was doing building him, and kind of invested a little more into the normal attack than I needed to, but this is the main thing that deals most of your damage, and then this can also hit really hard, so it's worth leveling up as well. Thoma! My Thoma is level 90 out of 90. I kind of built him as a shielder, and then Burgeon came out, so I kind of wanted to make him a Burgeon character too, but then his shield wasn't very strong, so I was kind of indecisive with him. He has 22,000 HP, 1300 attack, almost 1000 defense, and 290 elemental mastery. He's got 50% crit rate, 76% crit damage, 210 energy recharge because he is a very energy hungry character as well, and no pyro damage bonus or anything like that. He's running the Katane Crossspear R1. This helps him get back some energy. So basically the rotation with him is you burst first and then use your skill so you don't lose energy from the passive, you only gain it. And he's running a 4-piece Gilded Dream set. So he's got a crit rate headpiece, an HP goblet, an energy recharge sands, this feather, and that flower. Honestly, I could probably replace this with an EM headpiece, and that would be a little bit better for Burgeon, but this is my Thoma as is now. He is Constellation 2, not C4 to give him that really nice energy bump and make his burst a lot easier to manage, and talent-wise, he is 1, 8, and 8. Tighnari! Tighnari is level 80 out of 90, he has 15,136 HP, 998 attack, 843 defense, and 353 elemental mastery. He's got 65 crit rate, 181.4 crit damage, and 111 energy recharge, with 75.4% dendro damage bonus. Tighnari is using the Slingshot R5 level 90. He's got a 4-piece Wanderer's Troop set with a crit damage headpiece with some crit rate and energy recharge, a dendro damage goblet with elemental mastery, crit damage, and crit rate, an elemental mastery sands with crit rate and crit damage, a feather with a lot of crit damage as well as attack percent and some crit rate, and a flower with crit damage, crit rate, and elemental mastery. He is Constellation 0, and his talents are 8, 3, 7. If I used Tighnari more often, I'd probably invest more into his talents, but for purposes of just playing around with him, level 8 with the normal attacks and level 7 for the burst is good enough for me. Traveler! The only Traveler I use is the Dendro Traveler, and even then, it's mostly just for demonstrating how to use Dendro Traveler in various teams. He's level 80 out of 90, 16,000 HP, about 1600 attack, 1300 defense, which is kind of funny, I'll show you why in a sec, and 389 elemental mastery. His overall stats are 38% crit rate, 99% crit damage, 135% energy recharge, which is way too low for Dendro Traveler. And that's basically it. The reason he's got such high defense is because he's using the Cinnabar Spindle. This is a signature weapon, or it's an event weapon that was designed to be a signature weapon for Albedo that unfortunately you can't get anymore, but it has 69% base defense, or 69% bonus defense as its base stats. So you can't get this weapon anymore. I have it on the Traveler just because I think it looks really good on them. It's actually really terrible for them, but I just think it looks nice. As far as artifacts, he used to have a 4-piece Deepwood set, but I swapped that around for other Dendro characters I use more often, so now it's only a 2-piece Noblesse set. He's using an attack percent headpiece with good substats, but honestly not a very good piece for him. He's using an Elemental Mastery Goblet, which could be pretty good for the Dendro Traveler, though he would probably prefer a Dendro Damage Goblet instead. He's using an EM Sands, but he should be using an Energy Recharge Sands because Dendro Traveler is very, very energy hungry and energy dependent. And he's got this flower and this feather. Good substats for him overall, but not really good artifact sets. He has Constellation 6, being the Dendro Traveler, you can get all their constellations for free, and his talents are 1, 9, and 10. I don't use the Dendro Traveler that much, but if I did decide to build him, I would put him on a 4-piece Deepwood set, no question, with an Energy Recharge Sands, and probably something like a crit rate headpiece with a Favonius sword, so that way he gets a lot more energy recharge and can sustain his own burst and maybe help the team a little bit too. Venti! My Venti is level 90 out of 90, 17,000 HP, 1900 attack, 800 defense, 247 EM, and if we look at his stats, he's got 69 crit rate, 105 crit damage, 165 energy recharge, and 61.1 animo damage bonus. This Venti is from a time where you built Venti with a lot of attack and crit because that was the best way to build him. That was pre-Elemental Mastery buff for transformative reactions, aka Swirl. So I have Venti built out this way. I didn't want to farm more Viridescent pieces because honestly that domain was a huge pain, so I keep him with attack and crit. He still does quite a lot of damage even with relatively low EM. He is using the Skyward Harp. He has a 4-piece Viridescent set with an Elemental Mastery headpiece, an Animo Damage Goblet, an Attack Sands, a Feather, and a flower. If I wanted to, if I had another good Elemental Mastery Goblet, I could swap that on him for some more Elemental Mastery, which would be pretty nice. This would bump this up to about 500 or so, and then he could hit even harder while still maintaining good attack and crit rate, but there's my Venti. He is also C0, and for his talents, he's 1, 9, and 9. His normal attacks don't matter. His skill hits pretty hard, so it's worth leveling, but Venti is all about that burst, so you want to make sure to level that first because that's where all of his damage is coming from. So there's our favorite Drunken Bard. Wanderer, he is level 90 out of 90. You might notice that his name is Disappointment. I named him this for 2 reasons. One, I thought he was going to be better than he actually is. He's not bad by any means, I just thought he was going to be a lot better. And 2, he's kind of Raiden's Disappointment, so I thought the name was fitting. He has 2339 attack with no buffs, 800 defense, and here's his overall other stats. He's got 53 crit rate, 203 crit damage, 124% energy recharge. You'll notice that basically everything here, he's got extra damage percent, including 73% animo damage goblet. That is because of his weapon. He's using the Skyward Atlas, level 90, R1. This gives an elemental damage bonus of 12% to every element, so not only his animo damage, but everything else. His artifacts are the 4-piece Desert Pavilion Chronicle, his signature set with an Attack Sands, Animo Damage Goblet, Crit Damage Headpiece, Feather, and Flower. He is Constellation 1 because I was super lucky and pulled 2 Wanderers in one 10 pull, so therefore he's C1. and his talents are 10, 10, 10. He is triple crowned, and I think one of the only characters on my account that's triple crowned. Being a hyper carry, triple crowning actually is pretty nice, especially when all of these talents actually do contribute to his damage. It's honestly not really worth it to do that, but I just wanted to squeak out just a little bit more damage because I wanted him to hit a little bit harder, so I triple crowned him. It's pretty nice, but honestly not necessary at all. Now, if you want to save farming some artifacts, this will work for just about any hyper carry, but I want to give you a little tip here. You can farm the Marushosei Hunter set if you've got a hyper carry like Wanderer and also a lot of other hyper carries or other characters from Fontaine, and you have Furina. If you run a Furina Wanderer team, she's going to basically suck his HP and reduce it over time. And so the 4-piece set of the Marushosei Hunter set will actually proc. You can get an extra 36 crit rate, and then the 2-piece gives normal and charge attack damage as well. So you could run this on a character like Yuimiya or on Wanderer, especially with Furina, and that'll make artifact farming a little bit easier if you're already farming for the Golden Troop sets or for the Hunter set for other characters. So keep that in mind when you're building Wanderer. Xiangling! My Xiangling is level 90 out of 90, 16,000 HP, 1200 attack, 700 defense, 187 elemental mastery. She's got 49% crit rate, 117 crit damage, and 265% energy recharge. This is really good with the emblem set, so it also is very helpful because she's extremely energy hungry, so this is actually pretty nice for her. She's got 46.6 pyro damage bonus as well. She is using the R5 catch, the weapon you can get for fishing. This is really nice on her. Energy recharge increases burst damage, and burst crit rate is very helpful. And she's got the emblem set with crit rate for the headpiece, pyro damage bonus for the goblet, energy recharge for the sands. Then here's the feather, and here's the flower. She is Constellation 6, and her talents are 5, 12, and 13. You don't really need to level her normal attacks at all if you don't want to, but it is important to level her burst, and you can level her skill as well, even though Goba doesn't really hit enemies all that much, and he can be a little off with his AI. But I use Xiangling pretty much all the time in the Abyss, so I decided it was deserving to crown her burst and make it level 13. So there's my Xiangling Chef Girl, one of the most OP fire characters in the game, and maybe one day she'll be dethroned, but for right now she's still an incredibly good pyro character. Xianyun, Burb-Retainer Burbonetta. She is level 90 out of 90, 16,800 max HP, 3,326 attack, 700 defense, and 256 elemental mastery. She has 5 crit rate, 67.9 crit damage, and 201% energy recharge, with 15% animo damage bonus. She's using an R1 Skyward Atlas, level 90, and she's got the 4-piece Viridescent set, with an attack percent headpiece with some crit damage, ER, and EM, an attack goblet with a lot of energy recharge and a lot of EM. Not really necessary for her, I was mostly just going for attack percent and energy recharge. She's got an energy recharge sands with 10% attack and again a lot of EM, which is not really necessary for her, but the ER is really helpful. And then this feather with energy recharge, high amount, and some attack percent as well. And then this flower with some energy recharge and 21% attack. She is C0, and her talents are 6, 6, and 9. Xilonen! She's level 89 out of 90, 18,144 max HP, 1,170 attack, 3,209 defense, 75 elemental mastery, which is not necessary, but that's just how her artifacts rolled. She's got 47 crit rate, 88 crit damage, 188.5% energy recharge, which is honestly more than she needs in most situations, but it's better to have a little bit more energy recharge than to have too little. Her weapon is the R5 Favonius Sword. For artifacts, she's running Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City. Her headpiece is a defense headpiece with a lot of crit rate and some crit damage. A defense goblet with a good amount of crit damage and some crit rate and a lot of elemental mastery, which is unnecessary. A defense sands with a good amount of crit rate and some energy recharge. Her feather, which has 13% defense, as well as some crit rate and a lot of energy recharge. And her flower, which has some crit rate, crit damage, a good amount of defense, and also some elemental mastery, and her flower is actually the off piece coming from the Heart of Depth set. She is Constellation 0, and her talents are 6, 10, and 9. Xingqiu, level 90 out of 90, 15,000 HP, 1600 attack, 700 defense, 0 elemental mastery, 33 crit rate, which I wish was a little bit higher, 163 crit damage, 271% energy recharge, which might be a little bit more than he needs, 66% hydro damage. He is using an R4 sacrificial sword, the 4-piece emblem of the Severed Fate set, with crit damage headpiece, hydro damage goblet, energy recharge sands, this feather, and this flower. The reason he might have a little too much energy recharge is because he's C6, but more energy recharge than not isn't too bad, especially when he's still getting good amounts of attack and everything else. He is 1, 12, 12. I don't need to level his normal attacks because all of his damage is coming from his burst and his skill. Especially with C4, his skill hits really hard, so it's definitely worth leveling up, but mainly you just want to level up his burst. And that's Xingqiu. Xinyan! My Xinyan is unbuilt. She's level 50 out of 60, 6,000 HP, 200 attack, 400 defense, no elemental mastery, 5 crit rate, 50 crit damage, 100% energy recharge. She has some physical damage bonus because of the weapon, which is the Snow Tomb Star Silver, which you can get from Dragonspine from a quest, but it's not even leveled up. She doesn't have any artifacts. She is Constellation 4, and her talents are 1, 4 from the Constellation, and 1. So basically 1, 1 plus 3, and 1. Haven't built Xinyan. She's still bugged. Her talent right here that's supposed to give her a level 3 shield when she hits 2 opponents instead of 3 has been bugged since the start, and it hasn't been fixed. Unfortunately, Xinyan needs more love from Hoyo, and then maybe if they fix her and figure out what she wants to do, if she's going to be a shielder, a physical damage character, a pyro character, then maybe I'll use her, but right now she's just kind of all over the place, so I decided not to build her. Yanfei, level 80 out of 90, almost 14,000 HP, 1800 attack, 500 defense. She has 42% crit rate, 157% crit damage, 166% energy recharge, 70% pyro damage. She's using the Dodo Tails R5. This was an event weapon. Unfortunately, you can't get it anymore. It actually matches her really, really well, and the passive is very nice for her. Her artifacts are the 4-piece Wanderer's Troop set for increased elemental mastery and charge attack damage increase for catalyst characters. And overall, this artifact set's pretty good. Crit damage with crit rate, attack percent, energy recharge, pyro damage goblets. We've got an attack sands here, and the feather, and flower. She is Constellation 6. And her talents are 9, 10, 12. Basically, her normal attack is the most important because that's where you're getting a majority of your damage, so you want to make sure that's leveled up. So that's Yanfei in a nutshell. Yao Yao! My Yao Yao is level 90 out of 90, 34,000 HP, 1200 attack, 800 defense, 82 elemental mastery. She has 47 crit rate, 50 crit damage, 35% healing bonus, and 172% energy recharge with 15% dendro damage bonus. She's using a level 90 R4 Favonius Lance. She's got a Deepwood set, so this way she can shred Dendro resistance for anyone I use her with, because I typically use her in some sort of Dendro team, so this is really helpful for someone like Alhaitham, who's using the Gilded set and doesn't have access to the Deepwood memories, so that way she can shred Dendro resistance for him or anyone else. She's got a healing bonus headpiece. I focused on energy recharge and crit rate so she can proc the Favonius Lance more often and get more energy for the team. An HP goblet, HP sands, and this feather, and this flower. Again, lots of HP, crit rate, and energy recharge so she can heal more, use the burst if she needs to, and also just proc the Favonius passive by having enough crit to make it consistent. She's C0, and her talents are 1, 8, and 7. Her burst heals plenty, but if I wanted to, I could level it up a little bit more. I could level up her skill a little more if I wanted to as well, but she heals plenty as is. So there's my Yao Yao. Yu'lon! My Yu'lon is level 90 out of 90, 32,000 HP, 1,000 attack, 599 defense, 0 elemental mastery, 74 crit rate, 145 crit damage, 203 energy recharge, and 46% hydro damage bonus. She is using an R2 Favonius Warbow, one of the best weapons you can give her. She doesn't care about the base attack, but the energy recharge is really nice. It's helpful for her, and the passive is not only helpful for her, but the whole team as well. She's using the 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate with a crit damage headpiece, a hydro damage bonus goblet, an HP sands, this feather, and this flower. As you can see on some of the pieces, I focused on crit rate, crit damage, energy recharge, and HP, so a piece like this is perfect for her. She is Constellation 0, and her talents are 8, 9, and 9. You really don't need to level her normal attacks at all. However, the Breakthrough Barb, which is a special charge shot that she gets, is based off of her max HP, and if you level it up, it does more damage. So it is worth leveling this up if you want to do her special charge shot every once in a while. But really, you can save resources and just level up her skill and burst, because those are really the important abilities she has. So there's my Yu'lon. Yunjin, the famous opera singer, and as the game calls her, Miss Yoon, level 80 out of 90, almost 15,000 HP, only 550 attack, and 1900 defense. She has 31 crit rate, 100 crit damage, 225% energy recharge, and the rest is no damage percent here, because she is designed, oh, she doesn't even have a weapon. She is designed with a lot of extra defense. Because she scales off defense, that's basically what I gave her. A lot of defense with energy recharge, because she's very energy recharge hungry. So defense percent there, energy recharge there, and then the feather to make sure that we have the 2-piece energy recharge from the emblem set, and then this flower, and the one time where 19% defense is actually useful. As far as her constellations, she's only C1, and talents we have 1, 6, 8, so that is Miss Yunjin. Zhongli, level 90 out of 90, almost 30,000 HP, 1800 attack, exactly 1000 defense, and no elemental mastery. Zhongli has 74 crit rate, 176 crit damage, 112 energy recharge, and 75% geo damage bonus. This is not a Zhongli I would recommend building. It's sort of a semi-damage build Zhongli. He's got the Primordial Jadewing Spear, and when I got this, I just felt that he deserved it. It's level 90 R1. He is running a 2-piece Tenacity, 2-piece Shiminawa set. The reason Zhongli's built a little more for damage is I typically run him and 3 characters I want to farm friendship on, so he protects all of them and then does a little bit of damage because some of the friendship farming characters may not be very high level or deal a lot of damage. He's got a crit damage headpiece, a geo damage goblet, an HP percent sands, this feather, and this flower. He is Constellation 0, and his talents are 6, 10, and 10. I use Zhongli all the time, so I decided to crown his skill and his burst because I really like both of them. So there's my Zhongli, sort of semi-damage dealer build. Honestly, for most people, I would probably recommend just going like a 4-piece Tenacity with something like the Black Tassels instead of the Primordial Jadewing Spear, because if you want to make Zhongli a damage dealer, you kind of need a really good weapon on him because his damage isn't really that good. He doesn't have a lot of good scaling on his talents, so just go Shield Bot Zhongli. It's way easier and you basically won't die.